Hello, this is Buck Malick. This is an episode of Western Wisconsin Journal. This time, as you can probably see, we're recording outside of the studio. It's still kind of the Zoom world, and we're recording an episode that's about a coming event on July 30th and also on July 31st, Friday night and all day Saturday of 2021. So I'm able to supply some of the details about the Yellowstone Trail and the Brit Fest and the Model 8 Fords, but the folks who really know about the military convoy are the other two participants in this interview. And so it's my pleasure to introduce John Varner and Bob Neely. And why don't we start with you, John, with what you think the viewers of the Hudson area ought to know about the coming Military Vehicle Preservation Association convoy.
Well, as most of your viewers know, Hudson sits right on the Yellowstone National Memorial Highway, historic highway, I should say. And the MVPA, Military Vehicle Preservation Association, has been running convoys on these historic national highways since 2009, when we took almost 200 vehicles from Washington, D.C. to San Francisco across the Lincoln Highway. And since that time, we've done the Alaska Highway, which is a famous highway built for World War II. We've done the America's Highway, Route 66. We've done the virtually unknown national highway in 2015 called the Bankhead Highway, which I thought was a wonderful convoy from Virginia to San Diego in July and August. That was fun. And we just did the second transcontinental convoy along the Lincoln Highway in 2019. Did I forget one, Bob? Or is that it?
No, I think you caught them all. Yeah.
So this convoy is yet another MVPA transcontinental highway. The Yellowstone, unfortunately, is so dang long, starting at Plymouth Rock and going to the Pacific Ocean. We tried. We did a rough map out of that, and that would have been easily 6 weeks. And seeing how most of the drivers and participants are over the age of at least 50, maybe 60 now, we just can't do it. And some people just can't afford to be on the road that long. And anyhow, so we've truncated the Yellowstone to start in Aberdeen, South Dakota, and end in Conneaut, Ohio, which is right on the New York-Ohio border. And there's now a very world famous World War II D-Day landing reenactment that happens in Conneaut in August, and we'll be there for that. We also have decided in this world of COVID and mostly peaceful protests that we're going to try to avoid larger cities just from the congestion and everything else. So we are bypassing the Twin Cities to the south and coming up from Hastings and Prescott. Actually, we're coming up Old County F, right by the state park and into Hudson. So, and then we'll continue east to Fond du Lac, and then we're going to do a circle line tour of Lake Michigan. We're going to go up to Marinette, Menominee, and all the way up to the Mackinac Bridge, and then back down to South Bend, Indiana, where our annual national MVPA convention will be, and we'll be there for 3 or 4 days. We'll rejoin the Yellowstone Trail eastbound and end up in eastern Ohio. It's a 3-week convoy.
Fascinating. Bob, you have told me there, you've hinted at the past about your special responsibility with one of these convoys. Why don't you tell our listeners a bit about that?
Well, anytime we do one of these convoys, it requires extensive planning. The logistics involved are considerable. We have to allow for, obviously, fuel, both gas and diesel. We also have to allow for provisions, any type of food, and obviously lodging. So when you get a group of, say, 100 people, 100 of your closest friends, so to speak, and you're trying to get them across the country in a 30-mile-an-hour group, you have to account for all of these things, and it takes that planning, that length of planning. So anytime at a minimum, it takes 2 years of constant planning to do this. Among one of the things that we have to consider, one of the things is the actual convoy unit itself. The convoy is divided into typical military fashion march units. The march units each have a leader and a tail gunner. The march units can consist of anywhere from 4 to 7 vehicles. They're spaced apart time-wise, and then each march unit is separated from the other march units time-wise. Obviously, to avoid any type of issues along the way, we also have an advance party, and I am the leader of the advance party across the country. And my job is to make sure that we contact each and every law enforcement agency along that route to let them know our approximate day and time that we're going to be passing through. Even if we're not stopping there, we want to at least alert them so they're not sandbagged and surprised by the fact that all of a sudden 80 vehicles have shown up in town and they don't know where they came from. So we get that information to them and work with them to avoid particular issues like construction or missing bridges or wandering cattle or whatever it may be. And we've had all of those to make sure that the flow of traffic goes smoothly and that we don't interfere or impact. We want to impact minimally whatever contact we have with the communities we're simply passing through. And then obviously the ones that we're going to be doing stops where we take our breaks, our lunches, or our overnights to make sure that the authorities there are fully aware of what it is that we're doing and to make sure that they're receptive to the convoy being there. There are times when communities may have issues where they cannot take us for whatever reason. And likewise, we have to respond to their needs as well. If all of a sudden in the middle of the convoy, they notify us they've got a flood condition, obviously we're going to have to make other arrangements, et cetera. So to avoid all of those issues, that advance party contact is required. And then I have to run ahead of the convoy about an hour to make sure that at the last minute we didn't have a bridge washout somewhere. And I'm in radio contact with the convoy constantly so that we have continuous updates to avoid any problems.
Well, that's quite a job. John, it all began, as far as Hudson's concerned, when you called the Chamber of Commerce and said, we're planning to come through Hudson and we're tentatively planning to stop in Hudson. What prompted that call to the Chamber of Commerce, and did you get the kind of response you were hoping for?
Well, Bob's the advance man for the convoy, and I'm the map maker. So I have to drive the thing to make sure that the bridge is there to begin with. And you'd be surprised, Google will fool you time and time again, especially when you're trying to follow an old Yellowstone route, which may be there or it might have been bulldozed over 4 years to make way for a new cloverleaf. You never know. So I also was looking for contact information, and we were planning on spending the night in Hudson. It was about 135 miles that day, I think. And we figured this would be a nice town to stay in with motels and truck stops for diesel and fuel. So I approached the Chamber of Commerce, and that was kind of in the height of COVID. And of course, nobody wanted to talk to me there, but they did refer me, Buck, to your group. And I really appreciate that. We had our meeting down at the You call it the Arch? Is that what that is?
Yep, the Hudson Arch at Lakefront
Yeah.
Park. Yep.
Yeah, I thought that was a great place to meet. It was a beautiful fall morning. Oh my gosh. And I felt warmly embraced by the entire group. And I felt that you were excited that we were coming, and that always makes us feel good. And we're kind of like bringing the circus to town sometimes. You know, it's something different, exciting, and fun for people to do that doesn't cost anything. So, and we've really appreciated the rapport that we've developed with Hudson, and for that matter, all along in Western Wisconsin. People have really embraced our coming. I want to add too that we kind of call ourselves the longest 4th of July parade, or the longest veterans parade. Over half of the drivers are veterans, and that's one of our main purposes, is to honor veterans of all wars and all time. So you'll see a lot of veterans in memoriams, magnetic signs on the sides of our vehicles. Both of my parents are on that from World War II, and my in-laws from World War II. And we really embrace talking to veterans. If you have older veterans that would like to ride in the parade, you know, if they can contact you, Buck, we'll be more than happy to get them into a Jeep or a Dodge Command car or whatever, and have them go through the parade as well. So we're so on top of this. I'm still waiting for cities now to decide what we're going to do when we get there. And you guys have this so planned out, and it actually moved your Yellowstone Trail days for us. It's great. Really appreciate it.
Well, Mary Claire at the Chamber of Commerce has a vision for making things happen, and we have folks in this community who will get together to put on the Hudson Hot Air Fair and River Fest and
Right.
The Boosters and the Spirit of the St. Croix Art Festival, and a lot of the same people work together on things. And when we got the referral of your call, it was no problem getting a few people to meet you down there at the Arch, and then to see the possibilities. So the Yellowstone Trail observance that's been in Hudson for years now was easy enough to move, and everybody who was associated with that was perfectly happy to move to accommodate that this particular weekend, Friday the 30th of July and Saturday the 31st of July. And it happens that I own an MG, and I'm the secretary of the Minnesota MG group, and we've been having an event called Brit Fest, usually closing the street in front of Dick's Bar on Walnut Street for a Saturday. And I approached the leadership team of that group, and they were happy to move and fit it on the 31st, moved it forward about 2 weeks from when we normally have our thing. And so we got the Yellowstone Trail, and we got the little British cars with the Brit Fest. And then Scott Huberty used to live in Hudson and still thinks of himself as a Hudsonite, although he's living in Minnesota. And he's got a Model A, 1931 Model A Ford. He belongs to the Twin Cities Model A Ford Club, which has about 230 members on the books, I guess. And Scott also called the Chamber of Commerce looking for something that could be done in Hudson. I mean, it was serendipitous. So we have the Model A Fords coming to Hudson on Saturday the 31st also, Model A Fords. And then the last, no, not the last. There are a lot of partners in this thing. There are a lot of partners. I happen to be a CB veteran, construction battalions, part of the Navy that started in World War II and continues to this day. And CBs always have heavy equipment and trucks and stuff, for transporting things hither and yon, and constructing air bases and forward places and stuff. And so my CB Island, which is Twin City Island X2, has been having a pork roast or a hog roast once a year, but we've been looking for a place. And so when the conversation in about you being in Hudson on Friday night. When that came to focus and we were casting about for a place where you could park overnight, attention focused on the Hudson House, and lo and behold, the Hudson House was open to not only having the convoy park in the parking lot there, but also to hosting the CB's pig roast. And that also meets the need for the convoy members to have a place to eat supper together,
Exactly.
and some congeniality. And the CB veterans want to eat together, so there'll be that. And then I contacted our local Legion post and VFW post, John Helgeson's the point man for both of those groups, and they wanted to get on board. So we're planning to feed 220 people. And so it'll be the CB Island veterans, the local Legion, the convoy folks, and if we still have food, we'll serve it until it's gone on Friday night at the Hudson House. So then it's looking now for people's calendars as though the thing to do is to put down for Friday night, July 30th at somewhere between 4 and 6. The most probable point seems to be 5 p.m. We will have the convoy forming up at the parking lot of Faith Community Church. Pastor Larry Zyman there has been most generous in telling us, help yourself to the parking lot. So the group, the convoy can get gathered together, formed up, make sure everybody's in the right order in those traveling units that Bob just described, and then load on some veterans. So back to your point, John, if there are veterans out there who aren't connected with the Legion or the VFW post and haven't heard about this through that mechanism, they're certainly welcome to call me. Try to meet up the Faith Community, jump them into a passenger seat, do the parade. Let me give my phone number right now: 715-386-7010. 7010. So the veterans who are associated with the VFW and the Legion make your arrangements through John Helgeson and your normal channels there. People who aren't, give me a call. I may be busy preparing food on Friday, but I'll be carrying my cell phone. And we want to connect veterans with vehicles if we can possibly do it. Back to the time frame. So optimal point is we're pulling out of the Faith Community lot somewhere just after 5 p.m. and traveling north on Carmichael to Vine Street, turning left after stopping for the stoplight, turning left on Vine and heading toward the river, heading west, observing the stop signs and the stop lights all the way down to First Street and the very edge of Lakefront Park, turning left or south, going along parallel to the park until we get to the foot of the park, and we turn left at Cooley and go up to the stoplight there at the Dairy Queen, cross over, go up Cooley to the 11th Street Bridge, stoplight up there, turn right, cross the bridge over I-94, turn left on Crestview and proceed to the Hudson House, circle around and park for the overnight at the Hudson House. So 5 p.m. plus at Faith Community. How long is it going to take us to complete that parade? Well, we tried to estimate it and had a hard time just a few minutes ago. Half an hour, 45 minutes? I don't know, something like that. And then we'll be at the Hudson House. And folks are welcome to come and kick the tires and look under the hoods and talk with veterans and swap patches and stuff like that. If there's any food left, to eat the food. Go ahead. What have I missed, John? Fill it in.
Wow, I think that was very complete. This is a broadcast for Western Wisconsin, though, correct? So I should say the next morning, that Saturday the 31st, we head east and go to Roberts, and we go through Hammond, Baldwin, Woodville, and then we have a morning break at Knapp. And we'll be stopped at Knapp for probably a half an hour or so. And they're putting on a little lunch for us too. And I know what a little lunch means in Wisconsin, the same thing it means in Minnesota. So that's great. So we'll be in. We're ending the day in Abbotsford down in Clark County, and they're really excited to have us come too. So it's going to be a good time in Wisconsin for the convoy all the way across.
Bob, since you've got to lead out first, if the convoy is going to pull out of Hudson at 0700, I suppose you're pulling out at 0600, huh?
The way they work it is the support vehicles for the convoy, and those consist of the civilian vehicles and RVs, et cetera, that the participants sleep in and so forth. The support group will generally go out first, and they go out around 6:30. And the reason for that is obviously they're doing highway speeds and we're not. And then about 10 minutes after that, the advance party will leave. And we have kind of alternate routing that we do depending upon the circumstances, but we're out in front of the convoy anywhere from 35 minutes to an hour ahead. And then at the top of the hour is when the convoy will usually depart around 7 o'clock. And judging by your description of the routing we take, I'd like to make you a job offer right now. If you'd like to hire on and just do the entire convoy for us, I'd appreciate that.
Can I drive my MG Morris?
Sure.
Certainly. Certainly.
Oh, I so wish I
top.
could. Go ahead, John.
I would bring your top for that too.
That's right. It's all weather, isn't it?
Yeah. Buck, would you like to hear about some of the vehicles that we're bringing?
Exactly. I was just going to say, is that your ambulance right behind you? And
this is my 1953 ambulance, right over my shoulder here. And I look, and there's 4 different eras of ambulances behind me, all the way back to a Dodge Power Wagon. So there's some variety. The secret is the reason we're getting so many ambulances is that they make great campers.
Uh-huh.
You know, my wife and I have converted ours into a camper. We just don't open the back door. So, but yeah, I looked at the registration, and I was surprised and happy to see we have a 1918 Dodge Brothers Army staff car coming, 1918.
Wow.
And I think he did the Lincoln Highway too, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah. And the next newest vehicle is a gorgeous 1941 Packard Navy staff car.
Yes.
Ooh.
And just a quick piece of trivia. Obviously, most people remember Pearl Harbor in 1941, but the cars had just changed over production from the 1940 models to the 41 models. You don't find a lot of 41 civilian cars because those that were made were usually, well, I will say purchased by the federal government, but the automakers had no choice on that. And it's a beautiful car. I didn't know it, but a 1941 Packard came with air conditioning.
Oh, my.
And I've ridden in it with the air conditioning in Virginia. It felt good. Then we have, for all you Harley fans out there, we have a 42, what the military called a WLA. And Indian made quite a few of those too. And a whole bunch of World War II Jeeps, Fords and Willys both. We have a 1944 Dodge Command car, similar to the one that Patton rode in North Africa and Sicily. And as I mentioned earlier, we have 5 or 6 ambulances ranging from a half-ton National Award winner 1941 ambulance to I think the newest is a M43 1964 ambulance. We have quite a few, as we refer to them, and Bob said we have heavies. And actually a deuce and a half is considered a lightweight heavy in this convoy. We have several 5 tons and even several 10 tons. And most of those have been converted to shop pants and so forth. And they might also contain luxurious RVs with flush toilets and stuff, but I've never seen them, so I don't know. Uh, and like I say, lots of Jeeps. And if you're an AM General heavy fan, you'll get to see plenty of those, that Vietnam era and 80s era. And there are a few, I'm too old now. I don't know what the new nomenclatures are, but we have some heavy trucks that are from the 90s too, that Hemet types, but I'm not familiar with that. So we're going to have about 40 total, which I think coming out of a COVID year and everything else is pretty darn good.
That is, and I was on a conference with Bob earlier, and these are the ones that are registered. Bob tells me that there are often others who aren't required to register, but you've divided the country in 5 regions or something like that. And
Sure.
as you get near a region, you'll have folks who can join the convoy for a week or for 2 days or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. It just in my club in Minnesota, in the Twin Cities, I know there's a scout car sitting in Hastings, and he can go 60 miles an hour. So I want to know what his excuse is for not coming up. And, there are quite a few vehicles around if we can get them to come. The problem is it's Friday night, and that gets a little tough getting off work and getting over to Hudson. But we'll get as many of my group, the Red Bull, over as possible. And we have members in Wisconsin as well.
Are you already looking ahead to your 2022 convoy?
Yes.
Are you doing the Yellowstone Trail backwards, or where are you going next?
We had a member work very hard for 3 years on what he called the Northwest National Park Convoy. And he lived in Idaho. He planned the whole thing out, and I drew the entire map set for it. Very exciting. We're hitting all the national parks in the Northwest. If it's a Mount something, we're going there, so that's good. Unfortunately, he passed away last summer, and we vowed that we're still going to do that convoy next summer. I know it's going to take a little tweaking and actually a lot of work, because 2 years go by and your contacts all change, and maybe the national park director was quite happy with this coming in 2020, and he might be retired and somebody else there. So we don't know yet, but yeah, we're going to the Northwest. And another convoy that's in the works is the Jefferson Highway convoy, which starts in Winnipeg and ends up in Nolens down south. And I guess I'm kind of doing that one, but we'll have to see how that goes a couple of years from now. But that'll be the first true north-south convoy that the MVPA's done. And it'll be probably a 3-week convoy too.
Now, there you go, John. You spoiled my plans.
Oh, no.
I had kind of put it in my mind that this might be my last convoy, but now you mentioned the Jefferson Highway. I don't know. I think I may just do that.
Pretty easy. Pretty
attractive to you, isn't it? Well, I'm hopeful that, thinking selfishly about Hudson, that the Red Ball will be able to work with us next year and in future years on a much smaller scale. But this paradigm here, where we have military vehicles on Friday night and a CB pig roast and local veterans and ride-alongs, ought to be something we can replicate.
Well, the bulk of the Red Bull Military Vehicle Association is in the Twin Cities. It's close. Most of them would feel very comfortable just driving to Hudson, especially if they can get across the bridge alive. So, Friday afternoon, that's not always easy, but yeah.
The Prescott Bridge is perhaps more hospitable.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the way we're coming up is the nicest, most relaxing way. I haven't told most of the people on the convoy that there's a double 11% grade on that County F. We'll just keep that to ourselves, okay?
I won't say a word.
It's a roller coaster. It's really something.
Yeah, for you local viewers, they're talking about the Kinnickinnick Valley Gorge, and going down and coming up, and imagine doing that in an 80-year-old vehicle or something. Yeah.
Oh, square cut gears, double clutching, and
Yeah.
I did put massive warnings on the map and spread out. You don't want a 10-ton breathing down your tailpipe going down that hill.
Mm.
I'll tell you, John, you may want to send a special notice to Mark Unen with that 1918 car, just to give him a heads up.
Yeah.
Suggest he carry an anchor with him also.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it'll be something that maybe you'll be talking about. It'll be something that becomes a highlight memory type of thing.
Yeah, in a good way, I hope.
Well, yes, of course. I mean,
We didn't really want to go up 35 to River Falls and come back. It's a beautiful drive though.
There are alternatives, but they are much more complex. Yeah.
Right.
I want to, at the risk of talking too much, I want to describe events for Saturday. For those who are local folks and watching this video, although the convoy leaves at 7, there's a whole day of activity planned all the way up to 4 p.m. Breakfast, pancake breakfast at St. Patrick's Church, open house at the Living Vine Church, which is the former white First Baptist Church at the corner of Vine and 3rd, practically all day long with food, with hourly opportunities to ring the bells in the bell tower of that church. 5 different performing musical groups on the lawn, kids events, a lot of kid-friendly stuff right there at the Living Vine Church, which is the newly formed congregation at that site. The Octagon House is also going to be open. The typical weekend schedule, but it's augmented with ice cream cups and pie at the Octagon House. And then we have these vehicle groups, like I mentioned earlier. The Brit Fest is on the 1 block of Walnut Street in front of Dick's Bar. The Yellowstone Trail vehicles, which is an eclectic collection of collector vehicles of all different kinds of models and restoration and hot rods, street rods, all of that sort of thing, right under the arch. So we've got the little British cars on Walnut Street. We've got the Yellowstone Trail vehicles under the arch between First Street and the bridge. And then we got the Model A Fords spreading up towards the band shell in the park, under the trees, if you remember, basically from the area by the arch to the edge of the sidewalk that rings the band shell. And all of that is between roughly 9 and 1. Now, there'll be some charitable activities there. There'll be some Youth Action Hudson folks selling tickets, $1 ticket, and then you put the ticket in the front in an ice cream bucket in front of your favorite car. So it becomes a People's Choice favorite car deal. 1 o'clock, we'll award the certificates and awards for the favorite cars. Then there's a poker run all the way out the route that the convoy drove earlier in the morning, heading out the old Yellowstone Trail, out Highway 12, going as far as Woodville. You stop at various pre-assigned stops, have fun at that place and pick up a card. And then at 4 p.m., sometime prior to 4 p.m., you trade that card for a handful of poker cards, and it's a winning hand poker run type of deal on Saturday. So we have a full panoply of events, and easy for me to say, where to go to find out the details. Well, the advertising is just barely rolling out. You'll see, you'll get a mailing in your mailing tube or your mailbox if you're living anywhere in eastern Minnesota or western Wisconsin, St. Croix County and west. There we have websites, of course. Just Google Yellowstone Trail Hudson and get up to the minute information there. There's a Facebook page for Yellowstone Trail, and those will have the latest information, including if we have to do any weather cancellations. That's the place to look. So it'll be a full Saturday. It should be a lot of fun with food, fun, things to look at, places to take your picture with a car, sit in a car, take your picture, all that. What did I miss? Bob, anything that you want to emphasize or that was missed earlier?
No, as far as the details of the convoy, as you said, there'll be more evolving as the advertising rolls out. You can get some general details from MVPA.org. That's the website for the national. And as the particular details evolve, there'll be links to be released to the public. For example, we will have a real-time GPS tracker on the commander's vehicle in the convoy. So you'll know at all times where he is located and can track them live online. Additionally, and I haven't confirmed this, but additionally, there were some plans to have a live ham radio broadcast set up on the convoy as well, but we'll have to look at that and see if that's going to evolve. One other minor point, if you'd like to get a kind of a flavor of this convoy, there's an interesting short video. It's on YouTube. And if they put in the search MVPA, that's the Military Vehicle Preservation Association, MVPA, and type in Carroll Summit, it's CARROLL Summit, SUMMIT, and that'll bring up a short video of the convoy descending from Carroll Summit in Utah for their lunch break. And it's a very unique video because it kind of gives you a real good impression or overview of what the convoy is like.
I learned something. I didn't know that existed.
Oh, it's great.
I'll take a look.
Sounds like fun. And it reminds me that I think I should have said at the beginning, the Military Vehicle Preservation Association is a huge organization. And it's actually worldwide, not all folks who are interested in preserving old vehicles, military vehicles, are Americans. And the website has examples of, British, Australian, and for that matter, Japanese, German. I think it's safe to say, as with most veterans things, people have laid down their weapons now, and
Right.
And there's a lot more nostalgia and memories. And
there's an excellent contingent from New Zealand as well that participates. So it's a good group.
Uh-huh.
Yep. And we have an Australian.
Yep.
Don't forget our Aussie. And
Now, there's nothing militaristic about the organization in the sense of who more than veterans knows how terrible war is, and nobody's an advocate for a war or for killing or for fighting. After you've been through it, you just want to get along with other people.
that's right.
But John, any mop-up details that you or things you want to emphasize here before we go signing off?
Well, it's coming a lot faster than we even know. We'll be starting off in under 2 months now. So looking forward to it. And I'd like to remind everybody in Roberts, Hammond, Baldwin, Woodville, and Knapp will be coming right through your town. So we also have an advanced man coming, Bob Neely. What are you driving? Are you a civilian car or military?
It's a 1985 M1010 5/4 ton ambulance.
Okay, yeah, that'll be pretty easy to spot in downtown Woodville. Yeah.
Also converted to a camper, yes.
Yes, okay,
Ah.
yeah. So, and I think did you mention the beacon?
You talking about I'm sorry, the lighting?
No, the internet beacon where they can.
The GPS tracker. GPS trackers. It'll be published online at the MVPA site. Yeah.
We'll try to get that to you, Buck, too. And
Okay, we'll try to republish that through our Yellowstone Trail site, and if we get it in time, we'll try to get it into our print material as well.
It really helps communities because they can see exactly where we are. You know, now they're going 30 miles an hour here. They'll be here in 12 minutes or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
On a Saturday when you've also got to buy dog food and some other stuff and you're trying to juggle a kid's schedule,
Yeah.
that all can be very helpful.
You know, I've also been told that this is one of the most uniquely American events that anyone could ever come up with. And now the Europeans are doing this more and more. And it's a celebration of our country.
Yes.
And you don't know the United States until you've driven it at 35 miles an hour and you can hear the kids laughing in the yard and the birds singing. And I recommend anybody drive at 35 miles an hour in an old car across this country because you'll finally discover who we are.
Good point, John. I'd like to end there, but I want to add my phone number one more time for people who don't find a connection through other routes. Feel free to call me, 715-386-7010. So this is Buck Malick and actually signing off for Western Wisconsin Journal.